The best ways to learn and understand how to communicate with your spouse, watch this, is to ask them.
Yeah, ask the question.
Ask the question.
And I would say second to that, because there is more said in what's not said than what's actually said. Now, that's a riddle, but they that have ears, let them hear what the Spirit of the Lord is saying. No, it more is said.
Edge life, you're too close to the ledge. We gon' push you forward a few steps ahead. It's that edge life. Oh, oh, gotta get it in your head, baby. Welcome to the edge life. You're too close to the ledge. We gon' push you forward a few steps ahead. It's that edge life. Oh, oh, gotta get it in your head. Welcome to the edge life.
You got to learn to communicate, right?
Communicate.
Communication is the key and cornerstone that every relationship is going to be built on, right? And here's the thing. If you can effectively communicate in your relationship will succeed. Watch this. I guarantee if you cannot effectively communicate with your spouse, partner, your relationship, it is going to fall apart, because communication is literally the foundation and bedrock on which that relationship and everything else is going to be built. So you have to learn how to communicate to your spouse. What is their love language? How do they best receive from you? What are things that, you should say and maybe you should think about not saying, right? How are they going to literally receive from you? Because if we're not getting into the I don't know, the ins and outs of really understanding that, it all it does is it's going to cause problems. So we have to learn how to communicate. And I'm going to say this, one of the best ways to learn and understand how to communicate with your spouse, watch this, is to ask them.
Yeah, ask the question.
Ask the question.
And I would say second to that, because there is more said in what's not said than what's actually said. Now, that's a riddle, but they that have ears, let them hear what the Spirit of the Lord is saying. No, it more is said in what's not said than what's said. So more communication happens in just listening.
Right.
I think sometimes we don't slow down. Life is busy.
Yeah.
Well, I think we busy ourselves up with a lot of trivial things.
Yeah.
We could really have more time, but that's a different show. But you need to listen. Like, body language is talking to you. If you're feeling some kind of way, and I've said this before, like, be in tune to how you're feeling, and maybe you don't know why you're feeling that way. If you're feeling like a disconnect from your spouse or whatever, there's something going.
Right.
Like, be in tune to that, you know, and then begin to just watch and observe and see what you see. And then after you gather that information, then go ask them.
Yeah.
Hey, I noticed this. What, you want to talk about? What's going on? Or, instead of, the hollering, the fussing, the carrying on, the pointing fingers, the accusing, those sorts of things that we resort to many times.
And, it's interesting, especially when we think about communication. There are some people who want to have conversations immediately, right? They see something and immediately they want to deal with it. And I get it. They don't want things to fester. They don't want things to, to be able to grow. And I get that and understand that. You just have to be careful to make sure that your spouse is okay and ready to have those conversations, right?
Ask.
Because if they are not ready to have that conversation at that specific time, then that could wind up becoming detrimental, and there you both go.
Yeah, you need to agree to the parameters.
Right, and that's really where I was going. So sometimes you may need to take that 20-second time out. You need to say, listen, we're going to talk about this, but right now I'm not in the space to have this conversation. Let me, go for a walk. Let me go for a run. Let me go work out. Let me go for a drive. Let me get myself together so I can be in the right space so we can have this conversation. Because what you don't want to happen, you don't want to we see this all the time, man. Couples, they're arguing because the mouse is not working. I just see the mouse right there, y'all. The mouse is not working. And then that leads to, you didn't wash the cup, which led to 3 years ago, you didn't get the right phone, which led to 10 years ago, you dropped the keyboard. I'm making all this stuff up right now, as y'all can see. But my point is, because you're not in the right space, it just goes and spirals out of control, right? So we got to get to the place where when we're communicating, we learn how to communicate, the best way to communicate, and also it's critical to understand from a time perspective, what's the best time to be able to communicate with your spouse or significant other.
Yeah, and the last thing that I just want to add to that, a lot of times we see our spouses, perhaps making wrong decisions or things like that for maybe our household or whatever, and I would just say to that, yes, women are supposed to be submissive, but if you saw a man about to walk off a ledge or a woman, would you not say anything, or would you say, hey, there's a ledge over there? Some of us are gifted in certain areas, and there's a reason why God gave us these giftings, and they're to be lent specifically to the first relationship that God ordained you to have, and that's your marriage. And that marriage is then for ministry, and that's the next place that your giftings are for, so that they can go out into the world. But anyway, so, you have to speak up, but you have to go through those three, the three parameters there that you just outlined. But it needs to be respectful, and at the end of the day, you all may have to agree to disagree, but you need to come to a level of agreement with whatever it is. We're all going to differ in our opinions. So
I would definitely agree with that. But again, if you have never talked to your spouse about communication, again, we would challenge you to have that conversation and just simply ask them, listen, what is the best way that you receive communication, or what is the best way that you would like for me to communicate with you? Would you like immediate communication? Do you need space? Do you need some? But literally have a conversation and ask your spouse and have that conversation. I think that in and of itself, that will help tremendously.
Edge life, you're too close to the ledge. We gon' push you forward a few steps ahead. It's that edge life. Oh, gotta get it in your head, baby. Welcome to the edge life. You're too close to the ledge. We gon' push you forward a few steps ahead. It's that edge life. Oh, gotta get it in your head. Welcome to the edge life.